I'm going to conclude this series on the Steampunk Globe now by having a look at the UVs and doing some texturing in Substance Painter. So here is what I've got. All right, I showed you pretty much most of the UV mapping. I've just cleaned things up a little bit and put things into the UV tiles where I want them to be, and I've used, I think, about 9 of them. It's important to make sure that the stuff you've got does not overlap into another UV tile, or you're going to have a problem in Substance Painter. If you get an error saying fail to load 3D scene or something along that line, go back and have a look at your UVs and see there's a good chance something is overlapping. Alright, so with that done, I've just got the base material. I've got the globe hidden still. I would now take this and export it as an FBX and bring it into Substance Painter. Now I've already brought it into Substance Painter and baked the mesh maps to save some time, but generally what I want to show you is if you've used the UDIM method, you would click New, File, New, change this to OpenGL, and then make sure that this is checked. Okay, use UV tile workflow and select your model and bring it in. When you do that, you will see this. This was the material, I called it base, and these are all the UV tiles. Okay, I guess I used 10. And the next thing you would have to do is bake the mesh map. So I've already done that to save some time, like I said. So here's the model now. Examine it and look for any discoloration or any problems, and I don't think there is any, so we can get started. Now this is going to be a stylized material, and I'll show you how we're going to do this. We only have one material, so it's going to go across the whole model. Alright, so I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to create a fill layer, and I'm going to create a folder, put that fill layer in there, and I'm going to call this orange or something, because that's the color that I'm going to use. On the fill layer, I'm going to go to the properties, and I'm going to select color, roughness, and metallic. It's debatable if you want to use metallic. I don't need height or normal. And I'm going to get a base color here. And I'm going to go for a bright color that's sort of like that orange color there. And we can try this at first with the roughness all the way up and no metallic. And I'll leave it like that for now. And I'm going to call this base. Now there's going to be 3 layers here. So I'm going to create another layer and call this edges. Alright, I'm going to come in here, and all I want here is color. So I'm going to alt click color, and I want it white. Something like that. Alright, I'm going to add a black mask and generator, and for a generator I'm going to choose the mask editor. And you can start to see what we're getting here. I may choose to blur this a little bit. Let me try 1.3, a little bit of blurring. And down here, the curvature, I'm going to use 0.4, we'll try 0.4, something like that. So we're starting to get this effect here. However, I'm going to, on here, I'm going to change from normal to linear dodge. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add another fill layer. And this one, I'm going to call this gradient. And here I'm going to use color, roughness, and metallic. And I'll bring the roughness all the way up for now. And I'm going to choose a darker version of that sort of orange color. We'll try that. And this one I'm going to set to overlay. And now you can start to see the effect we're getting. I'm going to add a black mask and a generator, and again I'm going to use the mask editor. And I'm going to turn global invert on, so I have this. And I'm going to leave that. I'm going to come down. This is where I want to change the world space normal to about 0.8 or so. Try that. Okay, you can experiment with these values and see what you like. All right, 0.8. Yeah, that's good. That's good. And this is the effect that we are starting to get. Now I may come back to here, and I may use a slightly darker orange, like something like that. And I think that looks pretty nice. Of course, we're going to have other materials on here. So those are the three main layers that I need right there. Now, I'm going to duplicate this layer. And I'm going to come in here. And for the base, I'm going to change this to a red color. I'm just going to slide that up and go up to red. And I'm going to leave everything the same. We're going to probably come back and adjust these roughness and metallic. I won't actually go too far. And the only other thing I need to do is come to the gradient color. And I could leave it actually the same. So let's try it, leaving it the same. I don't want the red all over, just completely masking the orange. So I'm going to add a black mask. And I'm going to come to my polygon fill and choose mesh. And I'm going to click on the bar and the base. Those two are going to get my red color. I'm going to come back to the orange, to the base, and change the roughness to about halfway. I'm going to bring the metallic also about halfway. So we start to get, I might go a little bit higher and a little bit lower in the roughness. And I think I may do that here as well. Halfway, metallic. So we get a slightly metallic kind of plastic. And here you can really play with the colors until you get what you want. Now I've got some colors actually, some values actually written down. So I'm going to plug those in. All right, that's what I'm getting so far. All right, let's come over to this orange copy. I'm going to call this red. And I'm going to change this so that I've got roughness about here. I'm going to put them both at about halfway. Same thing here, roughness and metallic. There, overlay, linear dodge. Good. All right, so let's move on and do some silver kind of metal. So I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to clear the mask because that included stuff that we chose for this. And we're going to come in here. Actually, we're going to call this, I'm going to call it silver. You call it metal. And I'm going to just arbitrarily change this to sort of an off blue light color. It may take a little bit of experimentation. Let's do this one just with a darker blue. Let's start with that. See what that does for us. Okay, I've got a black mask, so I'm going to select my polygon fill. And the things that I want to have this color, let's check that, see how it's looking. Okay, something along those lines. Okay, let's go on and get the rest of the stuff that I want in that color. So I want this down here. Yeah, I think we'll mess around with the colors a little bit. So I'm just clicking on these. And we'll turn it around here. And actually try to get these. And looks like I've got that thing in there. So I'm just going to back up and be a little bit more careful. Okay, got those. All right, good. And I want this and this. Down here, I want that and that. And I want that thing and that thing. And then I want the pieces of this. I think I'll go for all of it. And that. And on this one, make sure I got that and that. And let's swing around to the back. And I want this back plate. And I want these bolts. And now let's have a look at that. Again, a stylized kind of look. Okay, not bad. And at this point, we can decide if we want to, you know, change this, if we want like a little bit less roughness, maybe a bit more metallic, you know, that kind of thing. And you can change the gradient shade. That's roughly what I want. It's kind of a plasticky kind of look, isn't it? All right, let's do the pattern that I want to put on this pipe here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to, I think I'll duplicate this layer, This is going to be pattern. And I can delete this layer and this layer. And this is the layer that I want to keep. And I'm going to actually clear that mask now that I think about it and choose what I want. I got the black mask on there. I want this pattern to go on here. And in this fill is going to be black. So I'm going to pull that down to there. I am going to want some height. I guess I could leave all those other ones like that. All right, so the pattern on this fill, I'm going to add a black mask and a fill. And I'm going to go to the properties of that fill, and I have this grayscale here. I'm going to come to the procedurals, and I'm going to start typing in medieval, and I want this one, fabric medieval cross packed. I'm going to drag that in, and you can see this black stuff there. I'm going to bring the tiling all the way up, and I'm going to bring the scale to, what do I want to bring the scale to? I'll bring the scale to 0.6. And I've got the border width at 1, and I'm going to change this scale here to 3. So now you can see what it's done. They're all nice and closely put together. I'm going to come back to my main layer here, and I'm going to change the height value to negative 0.14. So it's a little indented. And at this point, that should only be on there, not on the base. Let's do the glass and a couple of final things. Now, in order to do glass, we need opacity. So I'm going to come to the shader, switch it from PBR Metal Rough to PBR Metal Rough with Alpha Blending. So I have to do that. And then I need an opacity channel here, which I don't have. So I'm going to click the plus and add opacity. I'm going to create another folder and a fill. I'll put the fill in the folder, and I'll call this glass. And on this layer here, I want to have, let's see, we're going to need color. I don't need height, so uncheck that. I don't need normal. I could do roughness and metallic though. Let's choose a base color for our glass, and it's going to go everywhere at first, like maybe a greenish kind of color. Would start there. Roughness, I'll lower a bit. Metallic, I know it's glass, but the higher you have that, the more sort of reflective it'll be. And bring the opacity down to about there. Now, without the globe, it's a little hard to tell how transparent we want it to be. So I'm just going to bring it down there to like about, there's like a third or maybe even a little bit less than that. Okay, and we want that only where it's supposed to be. So add a black mask, polygon fill, click here and here. And you can see some glass in there. And maybe we want to have it a little bit less, just so you can see what's going on. So I'll show you the metallic. You see if I slide it up, it becomes very reflective, so I'm just going to put it down in there somewhere. Okay, so we have some glass on there. I want it relatively clean. Let's do something about these buttons here. That's the glass there. For the buttons, let's take the silver and let's duplicate that, but let's clear that mask and just call this maybe buttons. And I'll do something like a green color for the buttons. So I'll take the base and I'll change that color to like a sort of a light green color there. And I know you can't see it yet. Change the gradient to sort of a greenish color, but dark. And we'll just see how this is going to look. So over on the mask, polygon fill, click the button, click the other button, and we get this greenish color. You can change that to whatever you like. I'm going to turn on anti-aliasing, and you'll see that it really matters what lighting you use. All right, I just changed to a different HDRI. I think that one looks pretty cool for this right now. So this is basically the materials that I want to use. There's no dirt or anything, no scratches. It's just like a cute little sort of plasticky thing. You can add more metallic to it or whatever you like. So it takes a moment when you go to save because of all the UV tiles or UDIMs anyhow. All right, it is saved. Now we're going to need to export this, and to do that, I'm just going to go export textures. I'm going to look through my output templates, and I have one here That's PBR metallic roughness with opacity. You can see opacity down here. And I've done other videos where I've used this kind of thing, and I think I created a template. If you're not sure how to do that, just let me know in the comments, and I can do a video on how to set one of these up. This is, of course, for Blender. All right, so that's the one I'm going to use. I'll also get the ambient occlusion, height, normal. I don't really care too much about the format because I'm not really doing too much, although I suppose I've got normal OpenGL here. So you don't want to have DirectX. And the only thing that's using that is the pattern on that pipe-like thing. So I'm going to come to the settings and I'm going to switch to that template and find a place to save this. So I'm going to save it right here, texture video, and I will say export. And there's quite a lot of files, okay, because of all the UDIMs. Now, after I've done a project and I'm happy with the final renders, I'll often just delete the textures. I'm not going to use it again. So I don't need to have them cluttering up my hard drive. I'm saving again one more time, and then we'll go over to Blender and I'll quickly try to set this up for you. All right, so let's come over to shading. And you can see I've got nothing on there. I'm just going to select part of it. It says base. Now I can't just do the Shift Control T. I've got to do this manually. So texture, image texture, Control T because I have Node Wrangler enabled, so that'll come out of the UV. Come over here, choose Open, Texture Video, and I don't want to choose this AO one. I want base color. So this is what it's called. It's base color, and I'm starting at 1001. That's where the UV tiles start. So you don't want to start with number 2. You start with this one. If I open it, you'll see it says UDIM tiles. It's found the sequence of them. So you start at the first one, which is 1001. Plug that in, and that'll put everything because I had it all as one material. All right, so far all we have is the base color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate that down. I'm going to make sure I connect this. In fact, let's do it this way. I'm going to make sure that I connect this so it's using the UVs. The next one we're going to do is the metallic. So come down here, search for the first metallic, which is 1001. Open that. It says UDIM tiles. I'm going to connect that to the metallic and make sure that this is non-color. I'll come back here. It's a little bit shinier. Let's do another one. We'll do the roughness now. So copy that down. Plug this in. Now we want the roughness. So let's find the roughness. Here it is, 1001. We're going to plug that in. And it looks very, very shiny, all right? You may like that, in which case, by all means, use it, but otherwise, come down here and note that it says sRGB. Let's just switch that to non-color. So that's the roughness we're actually using. Okay, we've got a couple more to go. Let's do another one down here and connect. I'll maximize that. It's a little easier. We're going to connect this down here, and we're going to do the normal. So find normal 1001. Okay, to connect that, I'm going to need a normal map. So vector normal map, plug that in here, color to color, and normal to normal. I'll leave the strength at 1 and just make sure this is non-color. Let's have a look. All right, so we should get some of the indents there from the height. And of course, we're viewing this with a different HDRI than we had in Substance Painter a couple minutes ago. So I'll just leave it at that for now. And the other thing we're going to use is the ambient occlusion. So I'll bring up another one and connect it. And I'm going to find the AO. It's the first one. And to connect that, I'm going to add a color mix RGB. Right there, drop that in and take the color out of this and drag it down to here. I'm going to switch this over to multiply. Let's do the glass. And the way I'm going to do that is I've got the base material here. I want to make another copy, and I want to call this glass. All right, and the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to add a mix shader, drop it in here. I'm going to add another shader, a transparent. Just leave it on the default color, drag that in there. And I'm going to add that image texture, the opacity. but let's have it come from the UVs. So connect that, and then we'll find the opacity where it starts, 1001. There it is. Connect the color to the FAC. And we've got it there, but it's not transparent. So come to the material properties here and scroll down. Blend mode, I'm going to put it on alpha blend. And let it compile on the shaders, and I'll probably do backface culling. And you can see through it. It's a little, maybe the roughness is too high or the opacity is not high enough, but we're okay for the moment. Like that. I can put on screen space reflections as well. Or is it refraction? Refraction, I take it back. Okay, you can see the HDRI and the reflection there. And let's come down and get that globe. There's the globe. I'm going to bring it back so you can see it in there. I want to just select the globe. All right, and for the globe material, I'm going to bring in an image texture, and I will Control T, but we need to unwrap it first. So let's go to UV editing and see if we can just focus on the globe. I'm going to look from the front. I'm not going to tilt it the approximate 23 degrees that the Earth is tilted, I don't think. I'm just going to select it all, and I'm going to press U. And I haven't even applied the subdivision. Let's try it. Sphere projection. And that's going to come in like this. Don't worry about the extra. I can get rid of those. I don't really need to. Down here where it says sphere projection, I'm viewing it on the equator. I'm looking from the front view orthographic. I'm going to clip to bound so it all stays in that one space. And we're going to try it like that. All right, let's come back to shading. In fact, let's hide the glass. There's the globe itself right there. And now we need a map image. So there are various images on the internet you can use, and here are a few of them. Some of them look better than others. I'm going to try this one here. This one it was given to me by a friend, and so I don't know if it's available, but you could search for them and just experiment and see how they look. I'm going to plug the color into the base color, and I'm going to get this. I can rotate a little bit. I just want something like that. All right. And if you want, you can plug this color also into the emission here and bring it up, you know, to 2 or 3 or whatever, because chances are you're going to put the glass back on and just to see through the glass a little bit better. All right. So at this point, we've pretty much done what we need to do. You could go back to Substance Painter and change the opacity of this. You could also, if you want to, say, you know what, on this body here, I want it a bit shinier. I'm going to take the roughness off. And then you could say, you know what, I'm going to drag the roughness down like this and just have a look. You know, maybe you prefer that look on there or not, I don't know. You could do a similar thing with the metallic if you wanted to. If you wanted to override this, say, you know what, I'm going to play with the metallic myself. And I'm going to do something like this. I'm not saying that that looks any better, but you could certainly do that. All right. This is just with the default HDRIs in the background. All right, not putting any of my own lights in there, just to show you what it looks like. All right. So again, the lighting would really affect how this thing looks overall, but that is generally how to do the stylized texturing and get the globe in there, and that is our result. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.